Okay, here's my 71 Chevelle, the tilter I built for it. I'm not going to go into details on how I built this thing because there's lots of tutorials. I mean, I bought 3/4 or one sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. It's split down the middle basically, and there's the other radius across the whole front of the tube of the plywood. Then just split down the middle. So that was how I came up with that. But the thing I did different on mine was I actually put a ratcheting strap with eye bolt, runs all the way down the length of this thing to the other side, and I took two 2x4s, scabbed them together, and basically they go across the top. And also, if I get down low here, you can see that my the 2x4, if you can tell, it's actually running uphill just a little bit. It's actually at an angle, and I did that to make sure the car sits back just a little bit. So, because the last thing what you do is your car to fall over. So, and it is super sturdy. Cross brace things like every place you can put a cross brace. There's one on the lower leg down here. I put a cross brace down there, and then of course the cross brace it runs all the way up to top, and then of course it's down both sides, doubled up to 2x4s. Just find places to bolt your frame on your car. These tilters work great. I got less than $100, I think, tied up in this thing. I think the sheet of the plywood it's 3/4 inch plywood. I think I spent $30 on it or something like that. So it wasn't crazy expensive. I had 2x4s already, so I don't have much tied up into this thing. But if you buy rotisserie, you're looking at $1,000+. And unless you're doing this for a living, it's an expense you don't need to spend. Just take the time to build this. I did use my engine hoist to pick it up, and where I hooked it to was under the car, and I hooked it to here. Now, this car was floating by my, I used it, it was sitting level about 3 foot off the floor with ratcheting straps hooked to the rafters in my garage. I just ratcheted it up, had 1, 2, 3 or 4 on each side. I used that to pick the car off the old frame, and then the new frame is sitting out there with a 454 big block I rebuilt last year, or last winter, with stainless steel fuel lines, stainless steel transmission lines, stainless steel brake lines. Oh yeah, I'm going through and making sure it's done right. This thing lasts for another 100 years or more. I mean, it's 50 years old, and I love Chevelles. So, but anyway, get off to talk about Chevelles. But don't, one thing they don't talk about much is basically undercoating, or also sealing the car from basically, like this stuff here works great. Let me get some light here. Maybe this will help, and maybe it'll come through. My phone sucks in the camera. No, that's not really helping, is it? It's Eastwood's internal frame coating. This is like $30 a can, so it's not cheap. And one can did my rockers, both rockers. Of course, I overkilled the rockers, and if you can see inside them, I don't know if this light will show that, if my phone's clear enough to see it, but it's actually, there's sand in it right still, but it's actually green inside, and you can't tell. Maybe you can. That's the stuff comes out green, and I did both rocker panels to make sure they don't rust out, because that's where your water runs. Your water comes down your cowl, runs down your rocker panel, and then of course it runs out this little hole right there. So you want to make sure your rocker panels are sealed, and that stuff does a great job. The part that sucks is they only send like a 2-foot long hose, and if you buy the extended hose that's 4 foot long, and keep in mind this stuff, I think it's like one time you use this thing it's clogged up, so I don't know, but that hose costs as much as that freaking can of sealant. Don't buy that. Go get airline tubing. I have aquarium, so I use aquarium airline tubing. I cut the hose they gave me, and I just stuffed it into the airline tubing for my aquarium, and it worked great. I just used a clothes hanger, straightened it out, taped it to the my lengthened hose to the clothes hanger, as it'll feed it through the rocker panel on both sides. One can did both my rocker panels, but like I said, I overkilled it to make sure they are always sealed. So I also bought 2 more cans now, so I can go through and do all of these. Once I get this all cleaned up, I plan on going through all these runners here on the cross supports. There's 1, 2, 3, and then across the back, this part here. So I got 4 places I want to run, and plus where the gas tank sits inside here. Make sure that's nice and coated and cleaned, so that it doesn't ever rust out on me again. Well, not on me again, but on whoever has this car, 40 years, 50 years from now when I'm long gone. My kids better keep this car because that's what I'm building it for, because I love Chevelles. I had the same Chevelle back in the 90s, and it's one car I wish I had never gotten rid of. So I'm basically building the car that I lost. So the back of this, how I hooked it up was I used the bumper brackets. So this has 3 bolts hold that bumper bracket on. The same thing on the lower one, 3 bolts. This whole back assembly is held on by this doubled up piece of double 2x4, sorry. And then it's just cut long enough to go through each bumper bracket. So on that long. 2 bolts hold that in place, and everything's attached to this. So once I get ready to do this one, I just take these 2 bolts out, and it'll about fall off by itself. The front, on the other hand, I got to take it apart. So, like I said, bring out your inner carpenter and figure out how you want to hook it, and go from there. I think that's everything I want to talk about. Oh, I am doing Raptor Liner. Okay, this old stuff right here, there's a controversy. Do you leave it on or take it off? I'm taking it off, and how you take it off is you basically get yourself one of the little torches and and once you heat this stuff up, the heat breaks it loose. You can scrape it right off. And I did not want to lay my back and do this. That's why I built the tilter, so I could get under this car, do the bottom of this car without getting it all in my face and my hair and my eyes. So yeah, I already tested it. It does. I mean, let me see. Where's the section I did? Yeah, if you look right here, that's blinding. Hold on a second. As you can see right there how clear that is. I tested the corner. Yeah, it just flaked it right off. So any place where add a little heat, you can see it was starting to flake. It just flakes it right off. So it does work very well. Use a little torch, heat that stuff up. It'll fall right off. And scrape it, and then you come back through. Wire brush everything down, wipe it thoroughly down with thinner, make sure it's nice and clean, and then I'm using a Raptor Liner on the bottom of this car. So the Raptor Liner will basically, hopefully, keep this thing forever. Need to be fixed because it rusted out right here for some reason. Originally, I patched that right there, and then that allowed water to get under these here, and this is what the rusted out was right here on this section, this floor pan. So I'll need to clean that up, get that all ground down nice and smooth so you can't tell it's there. I replaced this part of the trunk pan because they had carpet in the back of the car for 20 years. Yeah, the last time this car was on the road was in 06 of 2000. It's the last time I did the plate on it. I went to Michigan, picked this thing up with a bunch of other parts, and it literally sat for over 21 years in a barn. So I don't call this a barn find because the guy had already started disassembling the car, so I bought a bunch of pieces and parts and pieces, and I'm in the process of reassembling it. So I have everything except the interior, which will come later. Okay, good luck on your rotisserie or your tilter, and it's definitely a way to go. So I do recommend that. I don't know if I mentioned how I tilted this thing up. I hooked it in the middle of the car with this strap underneath the car. It's right where the back window is in the passenger seat. And I hooked it to my engine hoist, jacked it up until I get where I could actually get to the tilting point, and then I was able to push it up myself, all by myself. I'm not a weak guy, so it was like, oof, for a few seconds there until I got past the point and I was able to take it right over. And it sat down real smooth. It did not slam. I thought it might slam down in place. It did not slam. It went right over and just sat down with zero impact. So I do recommend you have 2 people to do this in the future, just to be safe, because once I took the weight myself and started pushing on it, it came off the engine hoist, and If I hadn't been strong enough to push it over the rest of the way, I would have been in trouble. Also be aware of your height, your garage. When I measured from the longest point on this radius to where my car roof is, it's like 8 feet, some inches long. And my garage door opener is only 7 foot something off the ground. So if I started tilting that right where it sits now, I would have hit my garage door opener, and I definitely would hit my garage door. So I had to close the garage door down, pull this car forward to this point where it's sitting, where this engine hoist is right now. That's where it was actually at. Stand it up, and then I was able to move it back where it's at now. So be aware of your heights. You know, I didn't know if I was going to clear the light bulb or not, but I did. So, okay, good luck on your build. This is a good way to go. The tilter does work. It's super cheap, but it's very, very effective. Okay, good luck.